Everyone's had their challenges this past year, but San Francisco actually saw some resilience in one industry in particular. Although some of their businesses closed, the cannabis industry actually saw some growth during the pandemic. 11 new pod shops opened and hired employees when they needed a job most. From one street to the next, closed signs are hanging up in too many San Francisco storefronts to count. The cost of staying open during a shelter-in-place proved too much to bear. While the hospitality industry was decimated, there was one hybrid industry that actually saw some growth in 2020, cannabis. Used for both medicinal and recreational purposes, pot was deemed essential by the mayor. Not all of them made it through, but more than 70 existing marijuana-related businesses stayed open, and nearly a dozen new owners took a shot at opening up pod shops. So it can be said the bud business is blooming. Despite not having received PPP loans, because the federal government still classifies marijuana as a Schedule I drug, with local government support, permits were fast-tracked for new opportunities. So the owners of Stiiizy and Union Square are actually one of 11 equity applicants who were approved during the pandemic. Let's head inside and say hello. Stiiizy CEO Cindy De La Vega grew up in San Francisco's Sunnydale neighborhood, where she went through tough times. So despite the pandemic, she didn't shy away from an opportunity that came her way to become the city's first Latina to open a dispensary.
But I kept going and look, I opened it. And so my thing is just continue to educate yourselves. I feel like where I come from, we cut ourselves short a lot. And being a minority, we weren't as privileged as others. So the thing here is that we need to educate ourselves and use that time. Don't think that, a little setback, but it's going to be a major comeback.
City leaders have prioritized pioneers like her through the equity program to help them get into the business. And in turn, Stiiizy and other bud businesses across San Francisco have hired 31 employees through the First Source hiring program in the last year. As of February, the unemployment rate hovered around 5.7%. But bud tender Fabian Hurd recently got hired at Mo Green's on Market Street. He says it was a long job hunt, but he finally got his new gig through the partnership with the city and a nonprofit. And there is more need for workers like him across town.
When you look at the fact that there was 719 openings last year, hiring happening and opportunities through the equity program, I do think there is success here. And in fact, when we look at our economic recovery, we're even better positioned to grow the industry and to do so advancing equity.
And all despite a challenging year, marijuana sales tax for the third quarter of 2020 dipped slightly from $66 to $65 million compared to the same time pre-pandemic. Meantime, bud businesses are banking on less restrictions in the near future and have their lounges ready to go for when tourists and locals are allowed back. In San Francisco, Ella Sogomonian, KRON 4 News.